What's up, everybody? Welcome to We Have Cool Friends, the cool show where we interview our cool friends about the cool things they're doing. I'm your host, Greg Miller, and this is my cool friend, Brian Altano.
Hi, Greg.
Hi, Brian.
Thank you.
Thunderous applause from the studio audience of Kevin.
We had a theory on the old, original Up at Noon that the only thing sadder than nobody clapping is one person clapping.
Dude, one of the first people when I tweeted that you're coming on the show to respond was Greg Atlas, and I thought about, do I hit him up and try to get Greg Atlas to sit there and be the one person in the crowd?
Yeah, and just ordered a bunch of Pachis for everybody. That was our old thing. So we would get Pachis would bring in all of this pizza, and our theory was everyone loves pizza, and it's their food is great,
yeah,
but it's extraordinarily heavy,
yeah,
and people would eat these gigantic
Chicago slices of pizza.
yeah, and just walking around holding them,
yeah,
and they would sit down, and no one laughed. Also, the jokes were bad.
Yeah, of course, that was a big part of it. We didn't know what we were doing back then. Those were the days, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that was that. I mean, the old Up at Noon. Really, every version of Up at Noon has just looked like something you see on Channel 19, not a real channel.
The best part about the internet, right? The best part of YouTube and the fact that everybody's got a video camera in their pocket now is that public access is everywhere.
It's back, and it's
back
better than
every.
Yeah.
And it's got production values now and sets, and people watch.
And so what we did was we did a very expensive version of it.
Yeah,
people
exactly.
on YouTube, they can do that. They do that for free with their phones.
Do you stop and think about it? Do you stop and think about it sometimes that IGN won the war to get partnered with YouTube to make a new channel that YouTube would own all the content. They're gonna make all the stuff.
Yep.
And it was cheap, cool, crazy with Naomi. That makes a lot of sense. And then you and me doing Up at Noon. It took us 6 to 7 months to get the set. We didn't even have the set, remember? We shot in the back corner on this destroyed red thing with no lighting. I looked terrible.
It looked like we were shooting in the back of a fucking TJ Maxx.
Yeah, it was 100%. Yeah. And it was just, okay, I think about that too, of the writers' rooms. You remember this?
Yep.
We hired Drucker. He moved there. Okay, this guy who eventually will go on to write for the Tonight Show. we moved there, and then we would go into this room, and it was the most production value I'd ever seen at anything at IGN.
Yeah,
17 people in this room for read-throughs,
pitching jokes, and shit like that. Yeah, it was great.
Drucker had all these different people he was farming jokes from that he would have on there.
Yeah, no, our show was described as a loss leader. Yeah, that's a very funny corporate term for we're bleeding money on this, but it's good to have because it looks good in the front.
Yeah.
You know, and it's were we ever making money on that show? Probably not, but we'd bring in cool people, and it made us look like we were doing a late night talk show.
I remember the first time we got a sponsorship for Sony Lenovo or some laptop or whatever, and as soon as we were done and it aired, I got pulled in a room and what? And I'm like, what? Why would what do you want me to do? Well, you can't review video games anymore. I'm like, you should have thought of it. You're the bosses. I don't know what to do. I'm making a show with my friends. I don't know what's happening over there.
That was the big trick. Yeah, if you did one or two of those, you never had to review a video game again.
Exactly.
So
got out from underneath Dan Stapleton's thumb. I don't have to worry about it.
So you didn't have to come into work and be 6.8, and everyone wants you dead.
Yeah, they want to kill you for no reason.
You just dodge that bullet forever. I remember we had, I don't know if I could tell this story, but fuck it, that's why I'm here.
That's why
we had
nobody watches, don't worry.
We had a sponsorship from, there he is, there's Drucker right there.
Right there, yeah. Well, is you looking for an old one here, Kev?
Oh my God.
I mean, this is when we definitely didn't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. That's the red set right there. Right?
Oh my God, look at that. Yeah, see it.
I didn't know how to read a teleprompter. Remember, look, this is a weird thing too. If you look right now at my left eye, or I guess the right eye, screen right. Remember this whole thing I had when we first started? That eye would close on its own. Look at me. I look like a broken baby doll.
That's right. I haven't thought about that in years.
Oh, dude, I had to take eye drops. We could not figure out. It was because I never read a teleprompter. I'm terrified I'm going to ruin this show that my name's on.
What was it? Just a tick or something?
Oh, it's totally just a tick. Yeah.
That's so bizarre.
Of me trying to read a teleprompter, not fuck up, not make nail the punchline too, because it was such different comedy than anything I'd ever done.
It's sort of like a sexual wink.
That looks sexy. There was nothing sexy in that freeze.
But in slow motion. I think if you and me. Oh, fuck. Look at that fat shit.
There he is, Brian Altano, everybody.
Okay, so here's the thing about this. I specifically played a very disgusting character on the show, but also I looked horrendous back then. So it's this perfect combination.
Write what you know, Brian. Write what you know.
I think if you and me found clothes and we went to a corner of the DMV and tried to make the show, it would look better.
Yeah,
now.
No, totally, yeah.
If we shot this on our phones while no one was looking at the DMV, the security's at lunch at the hot dog cart or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know why I put them there. We would run. The show would look better than it did with like 11 people trying.
Yeah, and trying as hard as possible, and having many bosses and many checks and many people telling you yes, no, you can or can't do that. Yeah.
And we never got canceled, right?
No.
Because you were smart. You said if we ever stop, they'll never let us start again. And you were very right about that. Because Up at Noon stopped multiple times, and every time it restarted, it was like an old car that was just like on the side of the road. It was like abandoned. It was like full of dead butterflies. Just like, and you would get it to start up, and it would take 9 months. And people would be like, or Fran would be like, I don't know. I mean, maybe should we paint the car? Maybe we should get new tires for the car. I don't know what we should do with a car. I mean, should it be a train? Maybe the car can be a train.
Yeah, I'd seen enough things die at IGN because they lost momentum. Yeah. I was like, listen, even if nobody's watching, we make this show. Including that one time, my favorite episode. Well, 2 favorite episodes, but one of them was the one where I had to go to a wedding, so we couldn't do it the next week. So we did that was the episode where we just shot the empty seat. And you and Nick argued off camera on a microphone. I just think maybe I should host the show. You can't do that.
So the best thing about that episode was it was structurally exact to every other episode we've done.
Yeah.
So we would even cut to me doing bits on green screen, but there was nothing there.
Yeah.
So it was just this fucking weird avant-garde silent film that had Nick and I mumbling in the back of it.
Yeah.
That was so great.
Those were the days.
I think like 11 people were like, that's a good joke.
And then I had forgotten all about it, but somebody else had brought it up in a meet and greet recently that they loved the episode of Up at Noon when we got stuck in an elevator.
Yes. That was
about that.
That was our clip show.
Yeah, right.
And the thing is,
we're not going to miss a week.
No. I was reading about clip shows recently because apparently they existed because back in the day or before Netflix and on-demand stuff, people, hardcore fans of TV would only watch like a quarter of every season of a show.
Yeah.
Because it's not, it's appointment based, but they show reruns. And so they do clip shows to kind of recap a bunch of stuff and then be like, we have all these old jokes in the back, like bring them out front.
Yeah.
And they don't do those anymore because if you were marathoning the new season of The Witcher and episode 8's a clip show, you'd be like, what the fuck? That was 40 minutes ago.
I get mad when they do the recaps. Like, I'm here. I'm watching it.
Yeah, I didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's very good to see you, Greg.
It's good to see you, Brian.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you for coming by. I feel like, you're the great white whale. Like, we've been trying to we always want you on as much IGN, kind of funny content as possible.
Yes.
But IGN keeps you so busy.
Yes.
And you travel as much, if not more, I think more than me, honestly.
I'm not sure. It's you and I are probably 2 of the busiest people in our industry. Yeah. And
you get to host all these travel shows. You're going to do that kind of stuff.
That's
like, it's part of it altogether.
We sold that show 3 months before I had a kid. And so that was an interesting conversation to come home and be like, I was like, honey, guess what? And she was like, what? And she loves me.
I am huge and can't move, and I'm angry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave.
I guess what's the opposite of that? It's like it's a dumb man running around the world being like, well, barcades.
Yeah.
Actually, you legally can't call them barcades because of Barcade in New York, and we got a lot of cease and desist over that. So.
Wow, you learn something new every day.
But shout out to those guys. They do good work. Aside from that, the whole thing, which is entirely our fault.
Aside from being very litigious.
Yeah. No, it's very hard to get the 2 of us in a room together.
Yeah.
So, Even when I see you at events, it's for like 4 seconds.
Of course, it's always I'm coming in, you're going out, and vice versa. We see each other.
Yeah, no, I'm glad we got to make this work.
Me too.
This is for clarity. This is the last show I'm doing of the decade.
Yeah,
and I think you're one of the only people that would have gotten me off the couch during Christmas break.
Thank you.
To be like, go do more podcasts because I probably did 150 of them this year, but I was done. And then you dragged me back in.
Just when you thought you were out. You know what I mean? Because this is We Have Cool Friends. Remember, I don't even know. We did, again, this is fun because we're doing a time warp. We're recording with you on New Year's Eve.
Yes.
This won't post until the middle of the first real full week. So, like, we'll have already done Kind of Funny Day 2020. We'll have already done all that stuff. If you don't know about Kind of Funny Day 2020 and everything we're doing, Kind of Funny Games 4.0, the new studio, the new hire, the new shows, go to kindoffunny.com. It's all listed there. You can find it.
If that didn't work, please support these guys on Patreon. I'm asking you personally because they're wonderful. They're great. I've been friends with them for years. I'm tremendously proud of them, and I want them to have money.
Thank you. We like having money. It's helpful.
It's good.
I mean? Yeah, it's good. You drink the coffee right there, that costs money. You know what I mean? Not that much, but we got it. All right? We got that over there. So, yeah, I saw you put up a very sweet Instagram post today, right?
Yes.
Talking about your decade here, and it was your IGN award, 10 years at IGN, that I can't fucking believe, and I want to talk to you about.
Isn't that crazy?
Putting it in there of like, to end the decade doing this podcast, I think makes so much sense, right?
Yeah, I got a small plaque that says 10 and masterpiece on it.
Yeah.
Which is a 10 out of 10 on our scale.
Yeah.
But it made me realize it's the only trophy I've ever gotten, ever, was for being somewhere for a long time.
Yeah.
It wasn't even for
the ultimate participation award.
It wasn't even like you were great. I was like, was the work great? And they're like, it was a long work.
You did it. You
did a long time.
You did it good enough to stick around for 10 years.
When you worked at IGN, you got fucking like Luigi awards. You got all these like thumbs up awards and stuff.
Behind this wall.
Yeah, right. You got all this stuff that was just like Greg's doing a great job. The only thing I ever got was like, you're still here.
Here's a cost of living raise. The infamous cost of living.
Also, Mark Ryan, who still works there, I think he just hit 15 or 20.
Yeah.
Which is not a number on the IGN scale. So his just at 15 masterpiece, and I'm like, okay, we didn't scope this. Like this is broken.
Well, I remember like when when I was there and people were just, and when you were there too, obviously, when people were just starting to hit that and they started doing the Miis and they'd put the Miis on the wall for 10 years. Yeah. And there was a bunch, and it was
Nintendo Mii.
Yeah. And it was that thing of, wow, like that's crazy. And I remember like how hard that got to see. Like, and I remember being like, I'm gonna be on that wall one day. I'll have a 10-year thing, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
But we saw so much turnover in our time.
How long were you there?
I did 8.
I did 8.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I would have been 8, I guess, in March, technically.
That's right.
And
you
I left
came close.
in January.
Yeah. When I'm trying to think, when you guys left 5 years ago now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was ready to go then because I didn't like what I was doing. I didn't like what I was working on, and you said to me, stick around because there's going to be a lot of opportunity that pops up for you.
Right.
And
I remember you looking me in the face so earnestly and being like, I wouldn't want to take that. I wouldn't want to. I'm like, no, do it. Like, this isn't like this isn't a selfless thing. Like,
you were completely right because like things just started opening up and there was more opportunity, and they positioned my role to be more like video centric and stuff like that. I was doing video stuff, but you saw how I looked, so the fact that anybody put host in my title after that fucking shit, Jesus, I look like a fucking Belushi. And they're like, yeah, you want to host videos? You're our face of E3. It was like, what? Wow, this company's seeing hard times. No, so I stuck around and things have gotten better and better and better. So I'm tremendously happy there now. I don't know what this looks like for any of us. Years and years. Oh
yeah,
now, right?
The retirement plan. What's a video game industry personality, whatever you want to call it? What does that look like?
Like what's the closest thing we have to sort of like a grandfather of this industry, and even that's like a disrespectful term because he's not that old, is somebody like Adam Sessler, right? Who has pivoted away from doing like on-camera hosting stuff, and it's just like furious at trolls on Twitter. Yeah. And I'm like, and I love Adam. He's one of my favorite people in the world. That's an option. Yeah. So there's that. But in terms of like, we don't know what this looks like at 45, 50. Yeah. Like, are we just gonna be out here just I have less hair, you have white hair, and what's up, everybody? Like,
I think so to an extent, right? I mean, that's a fun time capsule, especially here ending a decade, right? I do think that that's a viable future, and I think it's because we've done something that's. I think you talk about Sessler, I always think of radio disc jockeys. Right. And I think of like when I was growing up in Chicago and like my dad still listened to Dick Biondi. This oldies, and that's what he did. He played oldies music all this time. And it was that, and even like Sven Gulli, right? Like where it's like, these are things that are not huge by any stretch of the imagination, but to an audience they are. Yes. And that's whenever, I meet somebody new and it's like, oh, you're in video games, and that flies over their head, right? And I'm like, I don't make them, just talk about them. Like, what does that mean? I always say, to a very small group of people, I'm a very big deal. Yes. Like, you know what I mean? You can't
I've borrowed that and shared it with so many friends and family.
Please do,
it's a perfect line.
And so, like, you can't walk into, a McDonald's and be like, I'm Greg Miller! And like, no, shut the fuck up, fat guy! You know what I mean? Like, they don't care. But it's like, there's something to it that I do feel, and I think I see it, the most with what you did. Because, I mean, like, for Kind of Funny, it's always been that the other side of the mirror is Comedy Button and Brian, right? Yeah. In terms of what you guys were doing. And I think it's the same thing of, building these audiences that are here for you means that they will follow you to whatever you want to do. If you're good to it and authentic and everything else.
Somebody once, I think, described it as like the Bee Gees and the Ramones in terms of like and the Bee Gees are like much, much, much more popular. And then a couple old people with just like dirty pants are like, I like the Ramones. And we're like, that's us. I really like that outlook. I think that's a good way of putting it, because when we go to like Comic-Con or Gamescom or PAX or something like that, like it's tremendous, right? We know everybody. And then like Sunday morning at like noon or something, like the convention turns into a pumpkin or whatever.
Yeah.
Your shoes disappear or whatever the Cinderella. I never watched Cinderella really.
Really?
Yeah, no, I didn't have sisters.
Well, yeah, the carriage turns back into a pumpkin. Her
yeah.
dress goes, but like she leaves a shoe. The shoe is what the prince uses to find
That's
her.
what it is. Her shoes don't just disappear.
Who is this street trash with no shoes? Her dress is beautiful, but her feet are muddy. Banish her. Off with her head. Damn, Prince.
But yeah, we're a big deal to a small group of people, which I love because I've always found connecting with a smaller group of people easier than getting up in front of a million people and being like, haha, it's me, the star. Like,
well, I mean, it's the same thing, right? Of like, I feel like when you know, it's again New Year's Eve, so I saw the video go through my feed of Ninja last year at Times Square trying to when they were like, "It's Ninja, everybody," and he flossed, and the entire audience is looking like, "Who the fuck is this kid?"
Right?
And everybody wants to bag on him, but like, it's like, no, he got extremely popular and like that, but he's a way bigger deal to way more people than us. But it's the same thing of like, that doesn't cross over. You know what I mean? That doesn't cross over that everybody in the world knows. He's not Taylor Swift.
No, or for like New Year's Eve language, Fergie or something like that. Like it's like one of those things where, like that doesn't work there, but it also doesn't matter because he's happy and he's healthy and he's getting paid.
And that's the biggest thing about it, right? I think, when we left IGN, that was always my concern is like, first off, I was like, is this going to work? But secondly, like, would people want to work with us and would they understand what we were doing? And how much of it was that I would get access, and I'm talking about like, games for review. Did I get that because I was Greg, or did I get that because I was IGN?
Right.
And so like leaving that and having that not be a problem, and leaving and be like, the way we are supported by our audience, that again, a small audience by comparison to, when you talk about a Ninja or a Shroud or whoever, right? But enough that, hey, we have a brand new studio. Hey, we have a brand new employee. Hey, we're making the content you want, right?
Exactly.
Like, as long as we're making the shit we enjoy, making the shit they enjoy, and we're, doing the right things, then great, cool. I don't care how big or small we are.
Well, you've always been much better at a very specific trait that I'm like mostly terrible at, that you have to be good at to do this job. And you're really good at letting people know what you're doing and getting them to pay attention to it. And I don't know if I have like a weird imposter syndrome with that, or I just like, I'm bashful or just like stupid about it, or I'm just like, maybe can you guys watch my video? Like, can you please?
Yeah.
Like that's a hard thing to do, and that becomes part of it.
Sure.
Like that's absolutely a big part of it. And I think for a lot of people that want to go out there and make content, like maybe they're ready to make it and they're creative and they want to do all that, but that's a part of it you kind of have to suck up and get good at it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like you just make stuff in a vacuum, and then you can't expect. I think there was a time where you could expect people to naturally find your stuff, and it was 5-10 years ago. But there's just so much out there now that it's basically impossible.
You have to self-promote.
Yeah, you have to do it.
And it does feel, I think, weird at the beginning. You know what I mean? And I remember leaving that VidCon when I was like, oh my God, I want to make YouTube stuff. And one of the messages was like, anytime you tweet something, 1% of your audience sees it.
Yeah.
So if you're tweeting videos, you should tweet them 3 times a day. And it was like I'm going to tweet the same video 3 times. Granted, it's a different text, but tweet 3 times the same thing. Like, won't people get annoyed? And it was like, no, they didn't. Nobody cared. You know what I mean? Whatever.
That's such a fascinating concept because everyone doesn't see everything at the exact same time always.
Yeah.
And things just disappear, and you'll work on something for months. And you'll be like, here's my one tweet about it, and then no one ever finds it again. So
right. And
that's something I want to get better at for sure.
Yeah, well, I don't know like exactly the instances and products and things you're talking about, but I feel for you when I see you put out stuff like the new albums, right?
Right.
Like you just did the Evangelion remix,
yes.
right? And like I saw that go out, and I know it's your pinned tweet, and I know how proud of that you are. But again, it's like, cool. There's got to be so many people that are like, cool, I follow you for video games. I follow you for jokes. I don't follow you for this music. So why would I don't even know what Evangelion is,
Yeah. That's always a weird thing, right? Because it's like you if you made a pie chart of why people are invested in whatever you're making as an individual, and you try to go like put a new sliver in there, people are generally like, oh, I don't know if I want that.
Yeah.
But the thing about music that's interesting is that so much of the content that we create is sort of in the moment. And I don't want to call it disposable, but it's also the kind of thing where it's just like, what do we think will happen at E3? Let's talk about it for an hour. And then it happens. And then sometimes you get people that go like, hey, I'm marathoning through every episode of Beyond.
Totally.
And like I'm listening there, and they remember some joke you made 7 years ago, and it still resonates.
Me and my friends still say it in text messages.
Yeah,
we still say,
and I love that. And the thing about music is that I have people who heard my first album, Misanthrope, and just kept it on their phone for 5 years.
Yeah.
Whereas like my, I don't know, top top 7 Mario games or something. I don't know if people save that video and they watch it later.
Sure.
They probably don't. But like music,
I mean, you'd be surprised the amount of times, dude. People are like, it blew my mind. I think it was, I think it might have been the last year and a half when somebody was like, it might have been our subreddit, like, hey, I was just wondering, am I weird, or do you guys like save your favorite podcasts and listen to them again and again?
Yep.
And everybody's like, yep. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Because I'm with you of like, do a Kind of Funny podcast, talk about Andy in a sock and me losing weight, and then I never think about it again. It's gone in the ether, right?
Yep.
But for people, they do connect to it and want to do that.
No, it's like I think that's been the mantra with Comedy Button for a long time, is like make stuff that people can go back to and do and evergreen. I think something like this show, right, is like something you could, if you found the first episode for the first time, you can go back and listen to all of them, because we're not going to do our E3 predictions in this episode. I don't think. I think it's going to be a great E3 then. Like new consoles, everything. That's my prediction.
You think PlayStation's back?
Oh yeah. Did they ever go away? Oh,
well, I mean, at E3. I'm like, yeah, literally they were there last year.
Yes, they're back. Oh, yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
See, now we're doing fucking E3 predictions.
Yeah, now we're at PS I Love You XO.
I don't know what the opposite of evergreen is, but we just put a couple of those trees in this show.
It's the box of tilapia in the other room. Right? Has to get refrigerated. Otherwise, it all goes to hell.
What fucking forest just has like evergreen trees and then boxes of tilapia?
Some kid's Minecraft mod.
Speaking of which, I get a lot of people ask me about the Minecraft show you and I did.
All the time.
Speaking of evergreen, because I think that was something that you and I, and for clarity for people who missed it, Greg and I did a Minecraft Let's Play series because the bosses were like, Minecraft's big and everyone on YouTube is doing videos about it. And we're like, well, we know how to dig and build the, we can build the fort.
Jen and I went out with Per and his wife to Fiorella like 2 nights ago, and we were having a bottle of wine talking about that. And I forget what he was the example. I'm like, oh, it's like when you used to come in every 6 months to that meeting and be like, we need to own Minecraft. Nobody here owns Minecraft. And one day Brian and I are like, we'll do it. and he literally, without missing me, goes, you guys tried your best. We're like, all we did was build. Kids like, why is there no redstone? Why aren't you doing switches? And me and Brian are like, let's dig to the center of the earth.
Well, half the comments were just like, I learned a lot about chicken wings in this episode. And the other half were like, these guys don't know how to build shit. Because like we would be punching trees like 40 hours into the game,
and we'd film a week's worth at once. So it's all we would do, and then video 1 goes up and like, use the pickaxe. Oh, we'd be like, why did we make axes?
We never stopped to look on Wiki. We're entirely self-taught, which was like a fun but dumb way to play that game. And so, we would be punching trees for like 10 minutes straight, just having a casual conversation with each other.
I think we're playing the game right.
We'd be like, what's the main like sort of big structural differences between Ghostbusters 1 and 2, and just like punching a mound of rocks for like 2 hours straight. Yeah, that was fun, very fun.
We got to bring it back.
I think we should. Yeah. Let's really get to the bottom of this Minecraft thing.
Yeah, I think it's time. You know what I mean? A lot of people think it's over. I think it's back.
I think we should. Let's play as bad as we always did.
Yeah.
Let's unlearn. Let's get back out there. We'll just really punch the trees.
Yeah. We'll play Minecraft Dungeons. We'll do that Minecraft AR game. We'll be all over it.
I'm into it.
While we're here, let me remind you, of course, We Have Cool Friends is one of our irregularly scheduled programs. As we talked about in the Kind of Funny video for 2020, you guys want timely content, so the evergreen shows like this one, where they go, sometimes they go, who knows where they go. I think next week it's actually 2 in reviews. What are you doing, Kev?
I'm touching it.
You know how I do it though. I touch it. This thing, what's it doing when I touch it? I'm touching it right now. Is it doing it? E, I don't like that. Don't do E noises.
What is it? It does a bird noise when you hold the microphone?
No, when I touch this guy, I think.
What? Oh yeah, you're right. That was a weird.
I don't know what bird does that. Anyways, We Have Cool Friends is coming at you whenever it comes at you. You can go to patreon.com/kindoffunny. You can support us at the bronze level. You can ask your questions in the We Have Cool Friends zone, which is coming up a little bit later. Remember, you should subscribe to the show. YouTube, iTunes, Spotify. It's all there. We have sponsors and Patreon producers. Let's let Greg in the future tell you about them. Well, he didn't really tell you about them. He'll tell you again. There's a whole thing later on. I'll tell you really about this one. You know how it goes, though.
Good work.
December 31st. I don't know who's the Patreon producer. I don't know for January.
It could be everyone. It could be thousands of people who just sign up for the first time.
Exactly. They just pop on in.
So hopefully you're in there for a while.
When future Greg records the thing that's now from the past, it'll be so sad when I'm like, no Patreon producer. There are no Patreon producer.
You need to make up names like Anita Hanchub and stuff like that. Just
Amanda Hug and Kiss?
Yeah, that's
gotcha.
That's always a good one.
Brian Altano.
Hey, how are you? Hi.
I'm great, good.
That was I went to sip my coffee. Brian Altano. It's like, oh shit.
This is where I talk. Fuck. 10 years at IGN.
Mm-hmm.
Can you believe it?
No.
When you started, did you think you'd make it 10 years? Was that the
No,
plan?
I didn't think I would be alive for 10 years. You saw that video of me. No, the thing is about that job and this job, and probably what you do too, is that it evolves so often and so constantly that every single time you're like, I'm bumping my head against the ceiling. I got to go. I got to do something else. You break through and you get to something else, right? And it just keeps growing and changing. A big part of that is because you and I were hired on as writers and then pivoted to podcasting and video hosting and all this stuff like that. And I think that like having that pedigree of like coming in from the perspective of somebody that can actually sit down and write out a script makes everything a little bit better on down the line. And it's also a place that like it means a lot to a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
Like I look at the comments sometimes and they get me down and I have a bad afternoon. But then I go to PAX or Comic-Con and I have somebody who's like, I never leave. I love what you do. I listen and watch everything, and it connects with people, and that's what keeps me there. It's honestly
Totally.
That, and it's fun as hell. Like there's just always cool people there. My whole thing with IGN was when I started in 2009, I moved across the country. I left everybody behind, and I got there, and somebody started yelling about Batman, and I picked my head up, and I was yelling about Batman, and there was like 40 people yelling about Batman. I was like, hey, I have a bunch of friends to yell about Batman with. Like this move was worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I hear you. I mean, I feel like that's what I used to always talk about when I was at IGN, of trying to convince the higher ups at the time to send more people to PAX,
right?
Because that was, I thought,
it's a loss leader.
Exactly, right? But it was such a fulfilling experience for me, and still is to this day. Anytime we go somewhere live, right? Because when you go there, those are that, and this is nobody get mad yet. When you go there and meet the people in real life, that's the real audience, in quotes, right? That's the audience that I always talk about. That is the silent majority. Whether they're I don't even mean whether they're positive or negative. I mean the fact that so many people listen to you in their car and never once think when they get home to go on Twitter, go on a message board, go on Reddit, go on the comments of an article and say, great job here. They love it. They listen. They download every week. They're diehard fans, but they have a life to live that doesn't revolve around it.
It is the diametric opposite of the worst thing you've ever read under your own video.
And that's the thing, right, where I'm always talking about that. The people who are so mad underneath your video are so statistically insignificant.
Yeah.
And again, these are people who are mad, who are being trolls, not people with constructive criticism. Very different. Very different.
Right. It's also, with IGN, we have such a massive audience that it just brings in people. I've always described IGN as sort of like the, remember those like Valpak coupons you would get in the mail? So it's just like a big pack.
Oh man, a carpet cleaner?
Yeah.
I get cheap crab?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
Cheap crap.
Oh, let me some cheap
Yeah,
crab.
you get like 11 of them in. You're like, I don't need a tuxedo. I don't need a clean carpet. I definitely don't need cheap crap. Maybe. That sounds like a gamble. And then you get to one in the middle. And it's like, buy one, get one free pizza. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
And then you're like, you get the next Val pack, and you're like, I hope there's like 60 buy one, get one free pizzas in here. And there's mostly cheap crap.
Yeah.
So I think that's like a lot of what IGN is, because we cast such a wide net that for some people, they're like, I just want news, no opinions. And we're like, I have an opinion about the news. And I'm like, shut up. And they're like, I just want reviews, no news. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
And then some people are just like, I want goofy fuck around nonsense. And I'm like, hey, that's my forte. I'm the cheap crab guy. And so it's hard to make everybody happy, and so you can't try to, and you just have to hope for the best and hope you connect it with the people that you're making stuff for.
As you probably remember, I think I finally got rid of it, but I might still have it, is that I had a list on my phone of people who hate IGN. That I had kept a list of, because I used to be like the guy, right? That would like check if you were going to be worthy of working at IGN, or if you were. I remember that one time I found that guy, and oh man, it was great.
Yeah, people would interview, and you'd be like, "Hey, by the way,"
it only happened that one time, and it was the best day of all time. I'll never forget when Casey Lynch, who was the boss, walked that guy. He was like, "All right, cool," and said goodbye to me and Damon at the front door. And as soon as the doors closed, Damon just turned to me and goes, "That was awesome." Because the guy, I was quiet the entire time until finally it was like, Casey was like, Greg, you've been quiet.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for whoever this is?
Talk shit, get shot.
And I literally go, what do you think of me? And Damon goes, did you ask him what he thinks of you? And I didn't even break eye contact with the guy. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I like your energy. And I'm like, okay. And I pulled out a manila envelope and I opened it up, and it was all these whatever message board things where he was talking shit about IGN within a year from that. I'm like, you don't want to work here. You want to work here now that it's a job. You don't want to work here. You want to talk shit, be an asshole. And fucking
beautiful.
The blood drained from his face. And the best part too is no recollection of who this person was. Like,
Yeah.
I could probably have talked to him. He probably hates me. I've probably seen him at events. Been like, oh, hey.
Yeah, I don't think he's not like you would have remembered if he was like in your studio on
He's
your
Barrett. We hired Barrett. But no, like I remember something that had gotten him on the list before I knew him, because now we're super cool, obviously.
Right.
But put him on the list when I didn't really understand him, and because I didn't understand the comment until I think I was gone and had more perspective on it. But I remember Justin McElroy, right?
Yes.
He had put up a tweet once when, and I'm going to paraphrase and butcher it even worse than it probably was, but it was something along the lines of, he was complaining or criticizing IGN for something, and then his sign off on it was, "Listen, all I'm saying is if you're going to be the McDonald's of games journalism, don't be ashamed of it." And I was like, "Fuck you," because I took the McDonald's fast food, it's not quality approach.
Right.
When in reality, years later, when I understood it and I understood who he was and that he's a great guy, it wasn't that. It was the billions and billions served. It is the fact that so many people walk into McDonald's and they want the burger, or they want the fish fillet, or they want the thing,
right,
and they get mad when the McFlurry. It's like there's so many different things going on there that they're not all there for the same reason.
And also, like, some of our international outlets are like, we should make hot dogs.
Hot dog pizza.
We're like, we're not affiliated with those hot dogs, but they look really good. I'm referring to our Death Stranding review. It's definitely one of those things where you reach a lot of people, and because of that, you get the good, bad, and the ugly. And I'm trying to get better about like not letting it get to me, but of course, obviously, like there's some stuff you read every now and then, and it just gets to you.
Yeah.
I remember you and I would do Up at Noon all the time, and I think we deserved a lot of the comments we would get because it wasn't a great show. But we would have devs on the show, like developers would come on, and they're not used to. I'm not saying they don't have thick skin, but they're head down working on a game for 3 years at a time, and they didn't have to take bullets the entire time, right? Maybe it's a little bit different now because.
How visible a dev is, sure. If you're going to be one of these Corey Barlogs, all eyes on me, I want the spotlight. You know what I mean? Then you deserve the hate you get, Corey.
Diva. Christ.
God.
You make one of the greatest games of all time.
And he's just going to ride it for how long? God. You know what I mean? Do it again, tough guy.
Yeah, right?
Make another one. You know?
Yeah, make God of War 2 if you're so good.
Yeah, you fucking coward.
Or make something completely new. No, that's your choice as a creator, because we love you and you're awesome.
That's one way to say it.
Cheap crab.
Yeah. Cheap crab.
No, so I think a lot of people, like, they were not used to that, and they would come up for air and all of a sudden get hit with that. And so it's tough. I don't think it's a normal thing to have to be told fuck off, cuck, and then go home and sleep on it and be fine.
Well, I mean, that was the thing, I took me a long time to understand it, but I remember when, I started at IGN, I remember one of the first reviews I put up, and all the comments, and granted, this was the comments on the message boards, because in the old days we had to go to the message board and paste on the PSP boards, here's the review thread.
Yep.
And they were all like, this guy shouldn't even get to, he just started. Why would he, blah, 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 blah. And I remember walking over to Roper's desk and being like, I'm sorry, man, what do you want to do about this? And he's like, what? And I'm like, all the comments on the message board are mean about my reviews. Like, oh, fuck them. They don't let that bog you down. And it's the sad state of affairs and fact of the matter that you do get at IGN a thick skin to that. Existing on the internet day in, day out, making content, you get that skin where, like, exactly what you're saying, a developer who works for 3-4 years, heads down, comes up for air, puts out the game, then they see the vocal minority, which, let's say, is in general, I'm saying vocal minority who talks about the game, period.
Yes.
But then when you see the negative comments in there, that's what resonates the loudest, and you ignore the fact that there's this silent majority, millions of people who've bought the game, played the game, loved the game, and to put the game down and never thought to hit anybody up.
Which is why I remember on a very old episode of Beyond that you and I did together, we like kind of stopped at the end of the show and we're like, hey, if you like a content creator or you like a game designer, like, let them know. And I was like happy to see you continue to carry that torch to the Game Awards and everything like that. Like that was essentially your whole mantra at your Game Awards speech. Was like, pinpoint somebody who worked on something cool and let them know. Not to inflate their ego, but to sort of like balance the,
and of course that's what
light and dark of
that's
negative
the fucking
comments.
For the people who want to be negative assholes on the internet, they see you do that and like, oh, drama king, queen, whatever.
Right.
You're trying to get, and like, no, I'm legitimately trying to say something nice.
Yeah.
But you think this place can only be negative, so that's how you want it to be.
This is not even like us being vain about it. It's because I think that human beings are wired in some weird way where you can give someone 7 great compliments and then one person comes in and says the opposite thing, and the negative thing sticks with you the most. And I don't know why that is. I'm not a psychologist. I didn't create humans on planet Earth. I have no idea.
But you literally created a human on planet Earth.
That would be a fucking disaster. No, and for some odd reason, that's the way it sticks with people. And so I personally, in the last 10 years, have tried to be less of a fucking asshole.
Yeah,
I was a fucking asshole when we started being friends.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that like a big part of that was, and I'm definitely taking personal blame for this, but there was like a weird mantra around comedy at the time, and like this sort of ideology that like it was brash and, you know, sort of like unstoppable and like get in my way, you know, like, and you would just say, and a big part of that is like I grew up in New Jersey where no one held back.
Yeah, there's no
ever.
filter.
Like that was the weird thing was growing up in New Jersey, people would be like, I love you, but you look like shit. And then you'd come to California and people would be like, you look great. And they'd turn around and they'd be like, he looks like shit. And you're like, I don't know which of these is better. Like one of them is like deeply fucking me up because it's like I have somebody close to me telling me I look like shit. And the other one is like they say it behind my back. And so I think about like who I was when I started. I was like an angrier person. I was a fatter person. I was a, you know, more acerbic, more jaded person. And I think that like for some odd reason I decided to sort of chip that away and try to put a little more positivity out there, just because I think I started to feel like there wasn't enough. I wasn't seeing a lot of that anymore. I think a lot of negativity was overtaking everything. And I don't mean like everything is awesome, because I definitely don't feel that way. And I don't mean like only put positive shit out there. But you and I talked about like you know, that old story of you watching an episode of The Office, I think it was. Yep. And you were like, you didn't like it. And you went to write a tweet. And then you're like, what am I servicing this for? You know, what, like who am I
I'm doing the exact same thing people do to me. And I'm thinking the exact same thing they think.
Yeah.
Because they see me on a screen and they're like, he has 1 million Twitter followers. He'll never see this. This doesn't matter. Yeah, when in reality, I'm sitting there on the other end looking at everything you're saying to me.
Right.
And so, like, yeah, when we sit there and you yell at The Office, I'm sure the people who wrote that episode of The Office and acted in that office, maybe not acted, but I don't even know. They want to see what people think of the content I'm putting out.
Right.
And they see me being an asshole about it and not giving any criticism. You know, nothing to work off of, just being really rude and mean.
That's exactly it. I think that's, you pinpointed it right there. It's not just telling, like, people will just be like, hey, I stopped listening to your show. And you're like, why? Because you suck. All right, well, I can't work with that. Like, I don't know how to unsuck. Like, maybe you're right, but I don't.
Jury's out on if you're right about it.
I don't know where to begin to fix that, because it's not enough. Like, you get more specific. And then, so you know, like, I remember, like, I used to say the R word a lot.
Sure.
And because again, it was like a thing I grew up in New Jersey hearing all the time. It was that you would turn on TV in 2010, you'd hear it.
Totally.
You know, it was like a normal thing. And I was at Comic-Con once, and a guy came up to me, and he had tears in his eyes, and he was like, "Hey, I love your work, and I used to listen to your show, but I had to stop because, you know, this directly affects a member of my family, and I just find it disgusting." And I was like, then I have to stop, because I'm not gaining anything from this. It's a crutch and it's hurting you. And so I give up. Like, and I flicked it away like I did with cigarettes. And I was like, you're gone. Yeah. Like, that was my last. I didn't have like, okay, it was not the same as cigarettes, because cigarettes, I had a last cigarette.
I was going to say, let me get one more to podcast and I'm done.
I had one last cigarette and I was like, enjoy this. I didn't get up on the roof and just like scream the R word and then go, that was it. I just put it away. And it, you know, I didn't do it to make myself feel better about, you know, I didn't do it to like, even with cigarettes, I don't tell people, you better put that out, it's bad for you.
Yeah.
I just did it because it felt like the right thing to do.
Sure.
And that's it. And I think that's like a big, like, growth is important to me. Like, that's always been a big part of it. I think we work in such a fascinating industry that is constantly evolving. It is like techno-futuristic. You look at shit from 2 years ago and you're like, how did we deal with that?
Yeah.
You know? And
everybody going back to Witcher 3 and be like, man, the combat sucks.
Yeah,
you know?
right?
And that feels like it was millennia ago, but it wasn't. It was
exactly. And so if you're going to be progressively forward thinking in everything you cover, it sort of feels right to apply those same rules and laws to the way you operate as a person. And
sure.
I think it just makes everything sort of around you a little bit better when everybody starts.
I mean, it's that weird thing, because you know, you think about it as you moved here and you were already grown up because you were on your own and it was your job and yada yada. But like, really coming of age and growing up in front of microphones, in front of cameras, right? Like, that is hard in a lot of ways, and it's not hard like a child star, you know what I mean? Like, fucking Danny Tamborelli doing coke at 12 or something, which I don't think is a true story. But it is like, you know.
Hi, Danny.
It is us like changing as people. Like, you know what I mean? And the word choices you choose, the way you handle things, right? Like I know, you know, depending on the news cycle and what's going on, like people accuse me on Games Daily all the time of being, oh man, he's too corporate. He takes the corporation sides all the time. And really what it is just, I personally feel, is that I've been around the earth enough times in this industry, covering this industry, that I've never really met the slime ball person that did this, twirl their mustache and they made this decision to fuck these people, right? Like, it's like, no, that's probably not what happened here. It's probably a series of errors and judgment calls that weren't right that led to this one very specific thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's a fascinating outlook too, because the video game industry is ostensibly this weird kit bashing of unfiltered creativity and art and business.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
and it's like, it's ultimately not a charity because it's too expensive to create a piece of product. And the movies are the same way, right? And so I don't want to say it's like a cynical approach to just go, hey, this is a business, they have to make money, but that is definitely a part of it. And so in a perfect world, Corey would come up and be like, God of War 2 is free and it's 100 hours long. And it's got everything you ever wanted. And it's got branching paths and it's open world if you choose. But, you know, it's like the perfect game. It's got kart racing if you need it. And all the DLC is free. But ultimately, like, somebody has to come in and go, oh, this is going to be a $60 product and this is what we have to do. And this, you know, this costs $100 million to make or whatever it is. Probably much more than that. I don't even know. And so, it's tough to find that balance. Because within that, you have to go, okay, well, no, they are ripping you off. Or like, you know.
And I'm not saying that doesn't exist.
Corey's charging for the carts. Like, this is fucking ridiculous.
Damn it, Corey, we knew you. Change Kratos paint. You got to pay for that
cheap
too.
Cheap crab-ass motherfucker.
You know? Oh, man. I knew Herman taking control.
I didn't know I'd be coming over here shitting on Corey. We love you, Corey.
We do, Corey, but we'll keep shitting on you.
Do a game with Danny Tamborelli. That's
there you go, right there. You know what I mean?
He was in GTA.
He was. I remember that. That's
a
big deal. Yeah. Yeah, it's, you know, fascinating though to go back. Like, every so often I'll do the thing of, what was it recently? I probably shouldn't say because it did not look well on old Greg, but something happened and I wanted to put up a review, the old review I wrote in 2008.
Right.
And I went there and I read the intro and I'm like, nope. Like, it's a very similar thing of like, you know, I was this young kid and I was going to be in your face and make my jokes in the thing and then tell about it. And it's like, every time I read an old review, I see something in there of like that was the Greg of that time period. Let alone that was what we all. It's like when you go back and watch movies, right? Like, I'm gonna put on American Pie, and like, oh my god, they're dropping the F word,
right?
Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh shit, like you don't even think about it because not in the good way, but we all were doing it, right?
Well, you mentioned like The Office, right? The Office has an entire joke about a tranny clause. And it's like, imagine that in 2020, like, but that year they were like, this is the word that we're used to using, and so they used it. And luckily, you know, there's growth and things evolve and change, and we don't do that anymore. And so I think that's fascinating. But it's also, you know, if you look back at who we were when we were younger, you're trying to build a personality based on who you were coming in there. Yeah. And like for you, you're like, you know, you're this loud guy, you love video games, you love pizza and chicken wings and stuff like that, and that's all still there. But also there's a lot of just like brash, run in the room and be like, I'm the big loud guy here. And I think as you get older, you listen more and more. And me, I was just like this, I'm like, oh, I'm this fucking thick-skinned, fucking fat shit from Jersey. And we got a vodka soda and a cigarette, fuck you and the pussy and shit like that. And eventually that's exhausting. And you realize that like that's a shell that you put up to represent who you think you should be, because for us, we left everything we grew up around to come do this. And so you're like, what traits will I carry from who I used to be to make who I am now? And so you inflate this sort of personality a little bit. And then that evolves and changes over time. And then you nestle into who you are and where you are. And you find yourself more. But then again, we could be listening to this in 5 years and be like, holy shit.
I'm sure we will.
I can't believe we made fun of Crab.
Our new Emperor Overlord Crab. It was June 3rd, 2020, when the first sentient crab stepped out of the ocean.
They're combing through old podcasts that come to our houses and kill us. Worth it.
Well, they get you right there.
You would hope, unless it's cheap and then it just crashes.
We gotta help me. I'm a cheap crab. Yeah, no, but I mean, like, that's the joy of it. And I think again, to what we were talking about earlier in the show, right? The awesomeness of the level we have and the audience we have is that you're able to do that and you're able to make those changes and you are able to be a living personality, person. You know what I mean? And like, it is that. I'm sure, you obviously can speak to it quite a bit, but when Jen and I start having kids,
right?
Like, I'm sure that's going to drastically change who I am, how much I play, what I platinum, all these different things.
Oh yeah. And it's also like what you say. It's like at some point I have to stop cursing in front of my kid, or I should curse less. My parents, I don't think they ever stopped.
Yeah.
I think until my mom passed away, there was like she would still slip an F-bomb in here and there, or like say shit, just like shit. These are great words. I don't want to retire them forever. But that definitely does. Like, you have to be a little bit careful about that, because otherwise your kids go to school and they're just like fucking shit, and then everyone in class is like, oh, and they're just ostracized and labeled like that forever. So
then they're smoking, drinking vodka sodas.
Exactly. It's a whole nother problem. So yeah, that definitely changes things, but you get there.
In your journey, you talk about like it being chip damage, right? Or chipping away at this person, persona. Is there a moment you think back to of like, oh, that's really like a turning point, or that was a big deal, or was it all so gradual to get you where you are?
I think it's a little bit of both. Yeah. I mean, there's sweeping things that happen. I think it's just like I said, when you meet somebody at a show and they're like that. Yeah. I didn't like that, or I did like that. That's the sort of like that's the kind of feedback that's more important than anything in the world, because it's constructive.
Yeah,
and you can
exactly. That's the biggest thing, right?
And
you suck, not this. Fuck you.
Yeah, which is true. I could and probably do suck. I just don't know how to work with that. So yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Losing weight helped a lot. Yeah, which is weird, because it's like you're like putting better food in my body and taking care of myself more made me like myself more, and that made me less angry and miserable towards other people. Sure. I think that there's like what really fucking sucks is when you see this like perfect Adonis and they're angry and shitting on everybody. And you see this all the time on Twitter, like, and everyone dogpiles. There'll be like some male model come in and be like, what the fuck are video games even for? Get outside, loser. And we're like, you were the chosen one. Like, you're supposed to be out there. Like, you're a fucking drop dead, gorgeous, handsome man. You could do anything. You're rich. What the fuck do you care about if we play video games? This is all I have, motherfucker. Like, get out of the way. And so, like, I think for me, like, when I started to be like, all right, I feel a little bit better about who I am. I'm gonna get in some new clothes. I'm gonna like take care of myself a little bit more. Still be a little surly, obviously. Sure. So I never want that shit to go away ever. Then you start to like yourself more, and you start to like other people more, and you genuinely start caring about existing a little more than just being like this fucking reckless vagabond of food.
And whatever happens.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I grew up listening to guys like George Carlin, who they just got increasingly like more vitriolic, which I fucking love, from an outsider perspective, but that's not a one size fits all for everybody. And I think trying to apply that to myself, I was like, I don't know if this is working for me. And it's also, like I started dating somebody and I got married, and I'm like, well, do I want to be like a surly alcoholic piece of shit at home, or do I want to be with this person for a long time? And like, and so I think that changes it too. It's all just sort of a giant process and a creative process as well. Like, I think it's important to find that,
Yeah.
But if you don't, I don't blame you. I don't know. I have to be on the train with you either way, and we're all gonna be pissed off when it breaks. Like,
it's that thing where right now on New Year's Eve, right? So many people are doing their resolutions, and this are the things they want to change, and how rough this year had been, or how great this year had been. It's all that thing, and it's what you're talking about. Of like, have you played Kind Words yet?
No.
Do you know about it?
Yeah.
If you don't, it's a PC game. That's right. I played some PC games over break. Don't everybody gasp at once. Take a smelling salt if you're driving a car.
What did you do to this man?
But I'd heard enough about it that I was like, I gotta play this game.
Right.
And so yeah, the idea is that it needs to come to iOS or mobile games because it's just so simple. But you're a character sitting at a desk, and then you're reading real letters people have sent, and then sending responses to them, or you're sending out your own, like, here's my starter like question. People then respond to it, and you get their responses, right? It's kind of like this like help thing. And there's so many in there where I feel like I'm being so like Greg Miller cheesy to the nth degree, but it is what I feel of like, you have to choose. You have to choose to be happy. You have to choose that you're going to be the difference you want to see. And I know that sounds so self-helpy and goofy and whatever, but it is the thing that works, right? Where it's like, if I wake up and I'm like, I'm going to have a good day, and I'm not going to like let this get me down, I feel like it's easier to power through than when I go in either already angry or I go in and it catches me off guard and then I'm in a bad mood.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of sort of caveats that,
of course, mental health,
depression, and all this other stuff that comes in. But I do think that there are like little things you can do on a day-to-day basis that sort of like elevate you above the muck that gets to all of us. And yeah, I totally agree with that.
On the last, kind of funny podcast of the year, I think, right? The one with Andy Sock and Vaseline. Yeah, there you go. I talked about the fact that I finally started working out like consistently, right? And it is that thing of, yep, it's every lame thing you've heard, but like, when I do it, I feel better. And I feel like I have more energy and I'm better on shows because I feel like I'm firing on all cylinders versus the days where I'm hungover and then come into work and I can't put together a sentence on this show.
I fucking wish I loved exercising. I hate thinking about it. I hate gearing up for it. I hate every fucking second of it. And then you get out and you're like, that was great. I feel really good. That's the big trick. It fucking sucks. There are people that love it. They're like, I love to run. I run everywhere. Blah, blah. Like, what the fuck, man? Like that. I'm no offense. I think there's something fucking wrong with you. Like, I despise it. I hate
guy running right now disconnects his phone, throws it in the lake.
I hate every second of it. I love you if you're great at it, and if you do love it, I fucking despise it. I could be in perfect shape. It could be the best thing. There could be money that they give me at the end of every session. I'd still be like, I don't want to do this
again.
It's fun. Yeah. So I actually started exercising at like 5:30 or 5:45 in the morning.
Wow.
And I'll get up really early. I'll go to the gym. I'll exercise. I'll come back and I'll shower and I'll get back into bed and it will have felt like a bad dream. And like at 20, an hour later, I'm drinking coffee in my kitchen. I'm like, did that happen? Yeah, I guess it happened.
I guess it did.
Maybe it was a nightmare. Who knows?
Just trick yourself. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Once I found that I like the Stairmaster fine, and that, oh man, this is where all those shows when people are like, did you watch this? And I'm like, no, who has fucking time for it?
Right.
I have time.
That's the time.
I have 45 minutes to watch Clone Wars. Fucking line them up. Let's go. What's Yoda doing? Yeah.
No, my thing with the gym was I'm very like self-taught when it comes to tech and video games and stuff like that. I hate that screen that pops up that has a controller and 60 icons all over it. I never read the manuals when I was a kid. I was like, let's jump in and figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
That the gym doesn't work like that because you destroy yourself. And like I told this story on the Comedy Button years ago, but the first time I started going to a gym, there's that spray that you spray down the equipment.
Yeah.
And I got off a treadmill, sweaty as shit, and I sprayed a towel and wiped down my face. And all your pores are torn open because you've been running.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I looked like fucking Kevin in Home Alone. I was just like, and I left. And I was like, I was mortified. It's just like one of those things that you have to be like, hi, can you, what is that? Like what the thing with the metal ropes that you have to fight? What is that? And then explain it to you and you feel better. Like you just got to do that shit. But yeah, it sucks. Yeah. And if you can't afford the gym, just run. That's what I've been doing.
Totally.
I just get out and I run and I hate it the whole time.
How far do you run?
What the fuck is this?
I'm just wondering. I was wondering how many miles you doing today.
The most I've
race me right now.
He's trying to be like Fitbit friends with me. I hate that shit where they're just like, oh, all your friends can see how you're inactivity. I'm like, get away from me. No, I exercise like a fucking old cat. Like I want to be alone. I think the most I've ever run, I got back from Cabo.
Yeah.
Right after I did Gamescom and a travel show in Belgium where I was literally eating French fries and waffles 3 times a day. And I got back and the next morning I woke up and I ran like 5.5 or 6 miles.
Holy shit. Yeah.
And that was the most I've ever done. I don't know what that, I was like running from food. Yeah. I was like, get this off of me.
Yeah.
So that was good motivation. What about you?
Running?
Yeah.
I rarely do it. I mean, like, it's when I first started going, like, and granted, this is still, well, I mean, I had been biking, for, I don't know, 2 years ago or whatever, for consistently, and then I fell off because of the travel and everything else. This last round, I woke up in Toronto at EGLX. And I was like fucking hungover as shit. You think back on this, all right, yeah, Adam Boys and us, we went out and we got steaks. And oh yeah, then we went to that bar and I just ate chicken wings even though I wasn't hungry. And it was that thing where you flick on the light and look at yourself in the mirror and I was like, oh no, I've been on the road too long. I've been on the road too long, like letting it all, not riding the bike, not doing anything. So it's
tough when you travel.
I originally started, I was like, I'm going to join the gym finally, because before when it was biking, it was great because it was like, oh, I bike to work. It's easy. I'm not even thinking about working out. It's a mode of transportation. But then when it was, well, I'm going in the morning, but then I'm flying somewhere at night. Oh, I'm only in 2 days of this week. I don't want to leave. had no consistency, and then I'd be at a hotel and it'd be like, well, I don't even know if they have a bike down there. I'm not going to go do it.
Right.
And so when I was like, every hotel has a treadmill, every gym has a treadmill. That's what I'll do. And so when I was doing it, I was doing like 3 miles. You know what I mean? And like,
That's great.
Yeah, whatever. But
that's what I usually do when I'm not like running from food.
Yeah, but then I found the Stairmaster. I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
I love this fucking thing. You know what
I think, we saw that video of Drucker. I think you, me, and Drucker combined lost the weight enough to create a 4th man.
Yeah, Nick Scarpino. we can create our own Nick out of it.
Yeah, who was also he was a little
he was
fat
one
boy,
of the first
right?
people. He was one of the first people to lose a ton of weight.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. It's I don't know.
But it's that thing, right? You come out in your early 20s, you go to this city, and all you do is fucking party, right?
Yep.
And then we all get old. We're all like, wait a second, we got to change this.
Well, that's the other thing. Like in your 30s, like every decision is important because it sticks to you. like I used to be able to like drink all night and then have like a 4th or 5th meal and then just go to sleep and wake up 4 hours later and go to work and be like, what are we fucking doing today?
Yeah.
Not anymore. Like
Yeah,
I just can't. I can't anymore. So no, it feels good to shed some of that. I got to do it again because we just had this 3-month stretch of just nonstop food bonanza.
No, that's
cheap crab everywhere.
Exactly. Oh my God, the cheap crab. I'm just telling you, ladies and gentlemen, you've been had cheap crab. Get ready for a delectable delight.
You're gonna get a lot of people sick.
Send me some photos of you with your cheap crab at Game Over Greggy on Twitter. I'd love to see it. Speaking of cheap crabs, let's talk about the people who make this show happen. Like everyone over on patreon.com/kindafunny, where you can get the show ad-free. And if you didn't go there, here's who today's sponsors are. This episode of We Have Cool Friends is brought to you by Upstart. Between hitting the gym, eating cleaner, or learning a new skill, there's lots of ways we can better ourselves in the new year. But I can't think of one that's more important than starting off the year by tackling high-interest credit card debt. My friends at Upstart.com are here to help. Upstart is the revolutionary lending platform that offers smarter rates to help you pay off high-interest credit card debt. Upstart goes beyond the traditional credit score when assessing your credit worthiness. They actually reward you based on your education and job history in the form of a smarter interest rate. Upstart believes you're more than just a credit score. They believe in you. They make it fast, simple, and easy to check your rate. Since it's just a soft pull, it won't affect your credit score. The hard pull happens after you accept your rate. The best part, once the loan is approved and accepted, most people get their funds the very next business day. Over 400,000 people have used Upstart to pay off credit cards and meet their financial goals. Free yourself from the burden of high-interest credit card debt by consolidating everything into one monthly payment with Upstart. See why Upstart is ranked #1 in their category with over 300 businesses on Trustpilot. And hurry to upstart.com/morning to find out how low your Upstart rate is. Checking your rate takes only a few minutes. That's upstart.com/morning. Up next, it's Indochino. Ladies and gentlemen, you probably have heard me talk about my Indochino suit before. Kevin got married one. I married him in one. Whenever you see me out there clowning around with Xavier Woods in a suit, I'm wearing that one. When I'm going around doing other stuff, I'm wearing it. I'm wearing it all the time. Why? Because it's a great suit. They build it right around you. You can monogram on the inside. You choose your lining. You choose everything. Indochino is all about you. You get to choose from hundreds of high-quality suit fabrics to pick the color, pattern, or the weight you like best. I guess and too. Then you choose all the personal touches, including your lining, lapel, and monogram. The customizations are all your choice, and there's no extra costs. Your suit is made to your exact measurements, so you end up with a perfect fit for the shape of your body. Indochino also sells custom shirts, coats, and chinos, so you can get the full custom wardrobe. They have showrooms across North America where one of their style guides can take your measurements and walk you through the process, or you can do it all from Indochino.com. Right now, get an extra $30 off any purchase of $3.99 or more at Indochino.com when entering morning at checkout. Plus, shipping is free. That's Indochino.com, promo code morning for $30 off your total purchase of $3.99 or more. Indochino, high quality, custom suits for an off-the-rack price. And finally, it's MeUndies. How many times we got to talk about MeUndies, ladies and gentlemen? You know it. I know it. I only wear MeUndies. I bought my first set of MeUndies, and I liked them so much, I threw away the rest of my underwear and bought more MeUndies. That's because they are so gosh darn comfortable. We made it. The holidays came and went so fast, and they'll be missed. But we also think it's time to just throw on some comfy pants and chill out. MeUndies wants to treat you to some self-care and truly relax after that hustle and bustle in the softest undies and loungewear on earth. Literally so soft, it should be illegal. It's cold out. It's dark out at like 4 p.m. Hello, darkness, my old friend. MeUndies. I like this ad read. MeUndies wants you to know that they'll bring you some real comfort in the chilly months ahead. In sizes XS2, 4XL, with plenty of brand new products, the options for getting cozy are endless. When they say cozy, they mean it. With undies that are 3 times softer than cotton in the cutest wintry prints and colors. That's like really soft. You know about MeUndies, a bunch of crazy different things. You go there, they have different sampler packs, they have different things. You can choose the exact pattern you want. You can get a blind box. I love MeUndies. You should love it too. MeUndies has a great offer for my listeners. For any first-time purchasers, you get 15% off and free shipping. This is a no-brainer, especially because we have a 100% satisfaction guarantee. To get 15% off your first pair, free shipping, and a 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/morning. That's MeUndies.com/morning. One-eyed crab Greg comes in talking about them. That's what it is. Brian.
Hey,
when we bring people on, we have cool friends. We go to the Kind of Funny folks over on patreon.com/kindoffunny and have them enter the friend zone with their questions.
As you should. They're good people over there.
They are good people over there. So let's see what I got for you. All right. Oh, this is a good one. Piggybacking off what we're talking about. This whole decade, right? I'm going to say Jorge says, is there anything about your current life that you tell your younger, parentheses, and at least in appearance grouchier self that would really help or amaze your younger self? Looking for any large perspective or priority shifts, lessons, etc. that you've learned or experienced.
Ooh, man.
So 10 years ago,
you
move here.
There's good pizza everywhere. You just have to know where to find it. Yeah.
Okay.
There really is. There's lots of bad pizza.
Of course.
Even more everywhere. But there's good pizza everywhere. Every city has 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 spots that are pretty special. And when I moved to California, I was one of those people that was just like, fuck this.
East Coast
bagels, pizza, blah, 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 blah. Like, it'll never be topped. And in a lot of ways, that's true. No, really. Bagels, I don't know what the fuck people are doing. It's not just a ring of bread that you bake. Like, there's more to it.
You gotta boil it.
You gotta boil it.
Water.
Yeah. But pizza, the second, if you move from the East Coast, give up the conquest to find perfect big floppy New York City style slices and go for more like the sort of small brick oven margarita style place.
Sure. Yeah.
Because there's been
Neapolitan, right?
Yeah, the Neapolitan.
Yeah.
There's been a tremendous boom of that over the last 10 years, and I think more and more cities are figuring it out. And yeah, I was very angry about that for a very long time. I would just go to pizza places.
This is what led to the drinking and smoking and attitude. Where's the pizza?
Yeah, I just go to pizza place. I'd be like, what the fuck is this shit? And then I started finding the good ones, and I got better about it.
Okay.
That's a big one. I also fatherhood. I could say that, but the pizza thing
boring.
is boring. The pizza thing I think applies to everybody.
Yeah. Somebody had written in, and then I was like, we're not going to get to that question. I deleted it, so I don't have it anymore. But what are your top 5 pizza places in the world?
Oh, I actually have a list.
Oh,
yes,
look at this.
I saw this question, and I wanted to prepare for it. The world,
because it was on Twitter. Is that right?
Yes. The world is a big place, and so I'm gonna just stick to America for now. I have another one that I can throw in, but you're gonna be surprised at this list, Greg, because this is all over the country. This
I appreciate that.
Yeah, this goes with my philosophy I've been saying earlier. Okay, number 1 in the country for me, John's on Bleecker Street in New York City.
You sent me there. It's great.
Yes, it's really good. I took my kid there the other night for the first time, which was like just a beautiful thing because I've been going there since I was like 5.
Sure.
The thing about John's is that instead of just, it's sort of a mixture between a brick oven Neapolitan style pizza and a big floppy New York slice, right? It's that perfect balance between the two. Number 2, big dumb floppy slice, right? Mm-hmm. Anthony Franco's in Paramus, New Jersey.
Oh.
You're probably not going to make it there because why would you go to Paramus, New Jersey?
The only time I've heard of Paramus, New Jersey, outside of probably some SNL throwaway skit, Ghostbusters 2. When at the very beginning, World of the Psychic with Pete Venkman, he's interviewing the people about the end of the world.
You know what's really weird about that? Dan Aykroyd was in Coneheads.
Yeah.
And Coneheads is filmed in Paramus, New Jersey.
There you go.
The newspaper they read in that movie with their huge heads, it's a fucking weird movie, is the local newspaper there. Number 3, A Pizza Shoals in Portland.
Okay.
Yeah. I shot an episode of Fast Travel there, Google Fast Travel Portland, IGN or whatever. I took Miranda Sanchez there, and she was kind of just like, yeah, I'm sure it's going to be good. And we sat down, and she was like, holy shit, that's the best pizza I've ever had.
Had you had it before?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I seek this place out. They have like a little arcade in the back. It's run by a guy who's named Brian, huge IGN fans, huge video game fans, and they totally get it there. So next time you go there. I haven't given any love to San Francisco. So Montesacro in San Francisco. I have a lot of favorite places in SF. Montesacro makes these things called pinzas, which are different than pizzas because they're like flat football shaped. They're long ovals.
Okay.
But they're fluffy and doughy and pillowy and delicious, and they're great. And then this one, Flo and Santos in Chicago.
Hey, all right.
Who doesn't do a deep dish, which I do like. I'm not going to get like all, coastal about that shit. I do think there's a place for it. Flo and Santos makes the sort of Detroit style.
Yeah.
Which has the cheese on top and then the sauce and the toppings underneath. And it's that big circle that they cut into a million pieces. And all the pieces are great except for those weird ones in the corners. The triangles that are like the paper footballs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are always my favorite. Friday night when my parents would come home with the Danny's or Baronis or whatever, and it was cut in party slices, I think what people call them now, colloquially.
Yeah. So there's 5. If you need more, just hit me up. I can give you more than that. But there's 5 for you now.
Has the being in shape cut down on the pizza at all for you? Like, do you just do it less? Is it more of an event?
Yes, it's more of an event, and it's something I cherish a little more. And because of that, it makes me care about how much I have it and when I have it,
Gotcha.
and I try to have the best that I can. Like I don't really have that philosophy of like all pizza is great. Pizza is just like sex,
Sure.
Because sex can be horrible. It can
Bite.
give you diseases. It can bite. I think pizza can be truly, truly bad.
Yeah.
Like truly bad. And so I try to make it count when I have it. That said, I have it more than you would think.
Yeah.
I have it fairly often. So yeah. I try to be good about that stuff. I don't like I look at the what's his name? Who just did the Marvel movie and put up the ripped photos. Kumail. Yeah, Kumail Nanjiani, fucking hilarious dude. He put up those photos on the same day as IGN had like this thing called a holiday cookie exchange. And so I went into the kitchen like a goblin and I got like a plate of cookies and I sat down and I was like, let's check the news. And I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And he pops up and he's just like, so this is what I do now. And I was like, fuck. God damn it.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that he was like, this is not something that everyone can do.
Sure.
Because I don't want to be one of those people that only exists in healthy world. I want to be able to enjoy shit too. So that's a big part of it.
The way I try to do it is like yogurt for breakfast, salad for lunch, and then whatever for dinner.
Yeah.
And because I'm not trying to look like Kumail. I'm just trying to like not die.
Yeah. No, I cook my own breakfast and I cook my own lunch all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that helps a lot because you have a quantifiable understanding of what you're putting in your body.
Yeah.
And then dinner, if you want to get lax, get lax.
Get lax.
And move around
Get
a lot.
that cheap crab.
That's the trick. Walk a lot. Just move constantly.
That's what I'm again with the watch, right? I bought the watch when I got back from EGLX mainly for fitness, so that it would be something to like look at and be like, oh, I'm doing pretty well. I'm close to this. Okay.
Yeah, I have the Fitbit thing, and it's antithetical to podcasting because that we've been sitting here for an hour.
Yeah,
but otherwise
it's time to stand.
Yeah, it buzzes, and I'm not going to just start getting up on the show and just
all right,
just doing 250 steps around the desk next time. So yeah, the little things like that help.
Yeah.
Drink a lot of water too. Cut that soda shit out.
Also true. Josh Harlan writes in and says, "What are your goals / hopes for the next decade?"
I don't know. Honestly, I'm kind of going with it.
Where for you personally? Because I mean, it was even a sliding scale when we were at IGN together, and I haven't caught up with you like personally for a while because we only do that on shows.
Right.
Where do you put music in the priority list? Is that still I mean, like when you think like who you are and your hobbies and stuff, and then your passions, obviously it's IGN, it's hosting, it's video games. But where does music now fall?
I mean, music for me is therapeutical. It's cathartic. It's one of those things that I do in the margins between everything else, in the early mornings and the late evenings. And I make tons of it, and I put out very little of it. It's mostly just for me to do. And sometimes I'll put songs on my phone and walk around and share them with nobody. Which is, if you like my music, that's fucking shitty as hell of me, because that's incredibly selfish. But yeah, I want to put out more music. I would love to do a soundtrack for a video game, or like an indie film or something like that. I've made very little effort in trying to do that. I mostly just put music out and go like, hope you like it. Like I alluded to earlier, like I have a tough time being like, listen to me, pay attention to me. Which I guess that'll be one of my goals, is get better at that. Yeah, I want to put out more music. I want to be a great dad. That's been like fucking tremendously fun. Like, honestly, I honestly did not know how much I would enjoy that part of it. Like, which is good, because it could have gone the other way. Right?
Sure,
It could suck ass the whole time. No, I totally dig it. I have a really fun. Like, I'm teaching my kid like Star Wars characters' names now, and she's like R2D2, and it's the fucking cutest thing in the world. And yeah, so yeah, I want to be a good dad. I want to be a good husband, a good friend. I want to spend more time with you.
Yeah,
this has been great.
Yeah, no,
we
don't do it enough, and it's that thing I think where. When I went over, when we were in London, not this last time for the World Tour, but the time before for RTX London, I went out with Ryan Gettys, went and got lunch with him, and it was catching up with him, blah, blah, and he's just like, yeah, so who from IGN do you still see? And I'm like, no one except the people we've stolen. And I'm like, it's not like we didn't burn bridges. It was just like, this is how it is that the only time it's easy to get together is when it is, cool, let's do something. Let's do a show. Let's do a podcast. Let's make a video.
Yeah, I mean, we told this earlier, but we're recording this like on basically a holiday.
Totally, yeah.
Because you guys you're like when you started, you did shit in the evenings on the weekends, and then you're like, no, this is a job. Like I go to work every day, and so while you're recording shows, I'm over there recording shows, and so it's very difficult to kind of connect those dots.
Yeah.
But we'll get better at it.
Yeah,
because I think it's something that people want, and it's something I want.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to make the Minecraft thing work. Figure that out, how we can do that some more. Alex Wolf wants to piggyback off of all this and says, was there anything about becoming a father that scared you, and what's it like now that you are one? So you already said you love it, you didn't expect that, but what was it scary going into it?
No, the whole thing is scary constantly. It's constantly fucking terrifying. That never goes away. Ever, ever, ever. The second I found out I was going to be a dad, I was terrified. And then I found out it was going to be a girl, and I was scared for like 3 months. I had nightmares for like 3 months straight that my daughter would come in with like a 70-year-old man when she was like 10, and she was like, "This is my boyfriend, Uncle Frank," or whatever the fuck, you know? Like you have constant nightmares. Like I'll have a nightmare that my kid will crawl out of her crib and go to the kitchen and open the fridge and start eating food. Won't happen, but it might. You know, like you have it's constantly terrifying and really fun.
You live on the edge of fear and excitement the entire time.
It's so fucking scary, Greg. Yeah. It is so fucking, and it's, honestly, the hardest part is like I was like, oh, I took my kid to John's Pizza. Do you know how fucking hard that was to go across the country with a thing that's like 1.5 foot tall? The amount of shit that they have. I travel with like a backpack and a carry-on. I go anywhere. I haven't checked a bag in like 5 years.
Yeah.
And then you become a dad and you're like, oh, I got to have a crib and a stroller. 16 bags, all these diapers. You heard my story about like when my kid shit on the plane and I flushed the diaper?
No.
Yeah, my kid shit on the plane like 3 months after she was born, or 5 months after she was born, and I brought her to the bathroom because I'm not like one of those people that's like, oh, only women change the shitty bathroom on the plane.
You're not chewing a cigar, reading the newspaper.
That's
on
a lady's
flight.
job. No, so I bring my kid in the bathroom and I'm frantic, and she's giggling and kicking all over the place, like her foot fucking dips into the shit and stuff like that. It's horrible. And so I take the diaper and I panic and I throw it in the toilet and I flush the toilet and the toilet clogged. And I didn't realize it, and I got back to my chair, and this old woman came up to me, and she was like, "Excuse me," loud enough for like 10 rows to hear, and she was like, "Did you just flush a diaper down the toilet?" And I was like, "Yes," and I like fucking sunk into my own skin, and she was like, "You clogged the toilet, and now there's only one bathroom for the whole flight," and I was like, "Ugh." I wanted to fucking climb out the door in the back and just explode into space. And so luckily, like I look back, there's like 3 cute stewardesses. They're fucking pumping this toilet with plunges. And she comes over and she's like, "Hi, please don't put what you're supposed to do is we don't know, but just don't do that." So I went on Twitter,
the airlock.
I went on Twitter. I'm like, "What are you supposed to do?" And some people were like, "Well, you scoop the poop out of the diaper with a towel, and then you put the diaper into the waste bin where people put their fucking hands." And somebody else was like, "Oh, you bring like a sandwich Tupperware and you keep the shitty diaper in there." And I was like, "This is fucking horrible. It's a nonstop, constant nightmare, constantly."
Did you ever get an actual response?
No, there's no right answer.
Just like make it into a football and then throw in the little trash.
We keep referencing footballs on this show.
And Joe's cheap crab. If you need some cheap crab, hit up Joe.
Yeah, I think you're supposed to scoop it out and put it in the garbage. That's what we do now. It's you scoop out the shit, you flush the shit.
Fuck that.
Have you done that thing where I'm assuming that you cross that threshold where it's just whatever. It's not gross to you anymore.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, because I mean, I've changed probably 1,000 diapers at this point. You know, like it's a stupid amount, and so you just get used to it. Like it's just. And the thing is, I have a girl, so she's never. Fingers crossed. She's never pissed vertically into my face. And like little boys who they have their like weird little penis and it just fucking shoots piss everywhere.
Yeah.
Like you talk to anybody who's got a baby boy and they're like, "I've been pissed in the face 6 times." That's never happened to me yet.
Yeah.
So
Thank
who knows?
goodness
I don't understand anything about women's anatomy, so maybe one day I'll get pissed in my face. Until
Keep
then,
us posted on Twitter.
yeah, I'll let you guys know.
Kenny Blue wants to change the track. He wrote in to patreon.com/kindafunny
Thank God.
and says, what is your favorite show / podcast you've ever been on? And why is it Knocking Boots?
My favorite one. Oh, like as a whole or like
so,
single
yeah.
episode?
Interpret your way. It's Kenny's time.
I don't know if Expert Mode counts, but that's a show we did with IGN.
That's where you do the one-on-ones with the devs, right?
Yeah,
that's a good
and
one.
it's usually after the game is out.
Yeah.
And so they get to be
Say stuff.
Yes. Yeah. It's essentially evocative of what I believe EGM used to do, a column that was just like this, where they would talk about. They would interview developers like months after the game was out, and they wouldn't be in the PR cycle. They wouldn't be like, "We're very excited for this, this, and this," or like,
We're excited to tell you about that later.
Yeah, like they'll be like, "Oh, we tried to do this and it didn't work."
Yeah.
And I find that tremendously fascinating as a creative person because that's one of those things where you get to get to the bottom of their process, and it's not just about what's there; it's also about what isn't there. Knockin' Boots is really fun. I love doing Comedy Button. The episode of Beyond that you, me, and Colin did in Toronto
with Frank
Furlano is one of those things that will stick with me forever.
Frank's still doing great, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know if you talk to him or catch up with him ever. But
Yeah.
now that we've been to Toronto 3 times in the last year and a half, I've seen a lot of Frank.
Oh my God.
He's doing real well.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's always
That
great.
makes me so
him and his
happy.
dad still come up.
Yeah.
Stuff.
No, I'll never forget us sneaking up the stairs.
Right.
And
Sean Finnegan with the phone.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's weird he's not answering.
yeah. God. Yeah, that was so special. And he was also a phenomenal guest too.
Totally. Yeah, he knew his stuff. Cool.
That was great. I loved I did a Gamescast with Tim right here.
Yeah.
Which was a fucking blast. It was so great. Tim and I didn't get to record a lot of stuff together when we worked together.
Sure.
Because he was kind of behind the scenes. I mean, he had a hashtag about it.
Yeah.
And so it was cool to do that here because we got to really like kind of open up and talk to each other more. And he's
That's
a great dude.
The thing that always is so mind-boggling, but obviously makes sense. For us, 5 years out of IGN, right? And the amount of times when Damon and Kim and Jen, we all went to lunch months ago now or whatever. But I had that question of like, I'm like, so how's everybody at IGN? He's like, I don't know who you know there. And I'm like, that's a great point. And it's that thing of, I forget that even for the people that are there or were there with us, it's such a time capsule that Tim and Nick aren't the Tim and Nick they are now, right?
No.
Like they're on camera, they host shows, they know what they're doing, they're in this thing. They were very much producers making content. And then granted, Tim had his YouTube channel, but still, let Tim host was the joke because he didn't have a show.
Yeah.
And so to see them come into their own here and do their own thing, the way Nick's grown when he started doing comedy, like how much better he got at podcasting was insane.
It's also, I think Kind of Funny and IGN, they're a lot like something like SNL.
Yeah.
Where it's like there's core cast, there's like the Daryl Hammonds who's been there 100 years, like, and then there's like a new cast that comes in all the time, and sometimes the audience is like, bring the old guys back. I want Will Ferrell, and sometimes they're like, oh, the new guys are great, and so I think about it like that, or like a sports team or something.
Totally.
Like like you're not gonna have Babe Ruth and Don Mattingly play for the Yankees forever.
Yeah.
Like there's gonna be new people that come in all the time, and so yeah, I think that kicks ass.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah. And I love that. And even with us, I love watching the cycle go from Jared's here. I hate Jared. Jared's okay. Jared left and it'll never be the same. And I wish Jared could come back.
Yeah.
I'm like, you fucking hated Jared.
Yeah.
You said you hated him.
Yeah.
Make up your minds.
Yeah. No,
Fucking fired him for a reason.
Mm-hmm. We've definitely had a lot of that. When you guys left, that's very tough for everybody.
Yeah.
For our comments, for your comments, for everybody was just it was like this weird, like fucking Avengers war between the good guys and bad guys.
Well, it was like everything else. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was a breakup. And like, I always talk about it that Fran knew about it. And Fran, wise beyond his ages on this one thing, where he was like, I remember when we were finally leaving. And it was, I think we'd done the final Beyond even. And he's just like, yeah, missed you guys. I'm like, I know, man. And he's like, yeah, I hope one day you can come back. We can send people over there. And I'm like, nah, man, send people over right away. We'll come back and we'll do Game Scoop.
Right.
And he was like, it's going to take time. And I remember being like, what do you mean? No way. And then you got out and it was like, oh, right. Okay. No, we're exes. And it is that thing where there wasn't bad blood, but then it would be a comment would set somebody off, or we'd do something, or that would go, or you guys would do something, or I'd hear through the grapevine that this person during an all hands said this about me. And I'd be like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And it was like, it took like a year and a half before it was like, oh, no, everything's fine. Everybody can come and go and do whatever they want it to be.
Yeah. And then eventually the audience settles, and then, like Max took over Beyond.
Yeah.
And then Dorno took over Beyond, Jonathan Dornbush. And when he took over, people were like, bring back Max. And like Max's entire tenure was people being like, he's not Greg.
Yeah,
and so, like it just happens that way. I totally understand it. It's I side with the audience on that one. Change is difficult,
Totally.
despite the fact that we, like as we said earlier, work for this crazy industry that is constantly, future facing and forward moving. It's also, you go back to your comfort food and you want stuff to be there where you left it.
Yeah.
And so when it shuffles around, it's scary. But
yeah. That was always the thing. I remember the only time I ever questioned the decision to leave IGN, because I was the one of the four of us that was like, "This is it. I'm not." I remember people, "Are you worried?" I'm like, "The only thing I'm worried about is that I'm not worried." You know what I mean? Everything's great. And it was the day one where I know Fran had been talking to Max, obviously, and I knew that. And he came by and he's like, "All right, cool." It was like December. He's like, "All right, it's official. Max is gonna." I'm like, "That's so great." And Fran walked away, and I turned to Tim. I'm like, "Are we making the right decision?" And Tim's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Are we making the right decision?" He's like, "To leave?" And he's like, "Yes, no, it's great." And it was just that moment of like, wow, they did it. They replaced me that quickly. They replaced that role that quickly. You know what I mean? And like, that I had known Max for years.
Of course.
Stuff, and I love Max. And it was like, he's the right guy and the right fit. But it was the panic mode for me that went away, by the end of the day. But then to see him come in and the way it was handled of, cool, you're doing Up at Noon and you're doing Beyond. And it was, oh, he's new Greg. And then everybody be like, you're not Greg. And I was like, Max is great. Don't do this to him. Don't do this to him.
Yeah, it was a find and replace almost.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, obviously that's not the best way to do it because you guys are drastically different human beings.
Yeah.
Like you're Greg Miller and Max is Max Scoville. Like it's not just a hosts are not like one of those things. And at least that's the benefit of the way we do shit is that we're not just like. We can't just come in and replace somebody else and be the exact same person as that person was.
Yeah.
So we bring our own shit to the table.
Yeah.
And that's luckily that we all have gotten the opportunity to work for places that champion the personality within all of us. Because otherwise, it's just like I've had people be like, "How come you're not more like Greg?" And I'm like, "Because Greg is Greg, and I don't want to cosplay as Greg, and he doesn't want to be me."
Podcasts are so in Up at Noon are so uniquely personal, right?
Yes.
And that's the thing is why I understand how hard it is for somebody to leave and add somebody back in and do the thing because it does change the entire chemistry of what that show is going to be.
Yeah.
And so, that I understand why the audience will struggle with that or whatever and do it. But I always thought Max got such a raw deal in the way it came out with the audience expectation.
No,
You know
totally,
what I mean?
totally. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's a very tough thing. Like, I think everything's settled and everybody's happy.
Everything's
now,
great now. Yeah, exactly. But it was like, a breakup.
Yeah.
We all had to walk away from each other for a while and be like, all right.
I know. And I'm glad that we're finally all good about it because it was definitely like, I was guilty of it too. Just like you just angrily say shit behind people's backs and it gets back to people and you feel like a fucking dickhead about it.
It was the amount of times too that we would say or do something or make a joke, right? And it still happens this day with different things, not IGN related, but other things in general. You say something and then by the time it gets to whoever you said it about, the context of the joke is lost.
Yes.
Right? Now it is that they said this and with no context, just reading on a page, you're like, what the fuck? I thought we were cool. You know what I mean?
No, I hated that. I hated being in a bad spot with any of you guys because I fucking love you dudes.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I come here because, I'm so tremendously goddamn proud of what you've built.
I mean,
like, honestly.
it goes both ways, dude.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing, you mentioned the conversation when we were leaving or whatever, and you were like, I don't know if I want that. Like, I'm so glad to see how you did that and took over and, like, have made yourself IGN. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you are the face of IGN in the same way I feel like I was when I was there. And that's so powerful. And don't get me wrong, there's many faces. I'm not at all trying to put down anybody else. But I'm saying like
there's Greg, and then there's like, come on, like
what?
Yeah, you were. Thank you, but you were like, you're Greg Miller. Like that. There was just like this way you had the way you were IGN during the way IGN grew.
Yeah,
is irreplaceable, and I don't think there's anything like you just had this. You had this like special magic that you brought to that room that I don't know if I would ever be able to do in the same way. You were this and still are like I think that you have a phenomenal way of sort of like bringing everyone in a room up and all the energy in a room up. And that was so fucking cool to see, and I'm so glad you still get to do that because that's one of those things I've tried for years to be better at that, and I'm just not as good about it. Yeah. And it's something you're really, really great at.
Thank you. Well, we're both doing great. How about that? Is that good enough? Okay.
7 out of 10. Except for our international offices.
Oh, Lord.
Rated us much higher.
Oh, my goodness. Sean Dickler writes into patreon.com/kind of. Man, did that happen? You're just like, oh, my God, here we go.
What?
Like, when the Death Stranding stuff. When the dueling reviews, you're like, oh, fuck, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a difficult thing, man. If it was up to me, numerical scores wouldn't exist.
Right idea.
And I think you worked there during times where they tried to get rid of them, but ultimately it's reader service. And like the majority of people don't use those to fight with each other. They just get it sort of like this capsule, this
What's the boiled down take?
Exactly.
Yeah,
They're like,
did this game turn out?
Yeah. I'm like, I'm driving to GameStop, one-handed. Just give me a number. Yeah, it's a tough thing because it's like we've put up tons of reviews that I disagree with. I've gone on shows to be like, I disagree with that. I disagree with this. That was one I was like, yeah, this is how I feel about this game. I actually might have gone a little lower. I found it sort of a frustrating experience. That said, I can also completely understand why somebody would say 9 out of 10. I think that's the thing that we have to get to as a community is not just sort of repelling against any other like opinion that we see and going, fuck you, I disagree, but sort of understanding why someone would like it. I rewatched all the Star Wars movies recently and I went through the prequels, which I notoriously disliked. And I was like, let's dig into why people like these. Like they were young at the time and these are fun as hell, campy as fuck kids movies.
Yeah.
Enjoy them for that. And I did. And I watched all 3 of those not good films and had a really good time.
Sure.
Because I think it's important to sort of, to not just go like, how dare you give it to this or give it to that, but to sort of see the perspective of like, well, why would you give that game a 9? Why would you give it a 6? Whatever it is.
I always talk about it that I think as a consumer or a fan of games, it's the best time to be either of those things because you get so many different opinions and you get to understand who they are. I always joke around about it, but when I started at IGN, right, and it was like I met Dunham and Roper and Craig, it was awesome, but I didn't have the meaning of when I met Dan Shu.
Right.
Because when at EGM, it was very much, here's a review crew, here's 3 different reviews, and it said their names. When IGN gave a score, IGN gave a score. IGN says this game's a 9. When I went to EGM, it'd be like, oh, Shu says it's an 8.5, but Sean says this. But I agree with Crispin usually. What's Crispin saying? You know what I mean?
I was at a restaurant in New York City 3 days ago, and I looked up and locked eyes with him. How fucking crazy is that? And my wife goes, who is that? Have I met him before? And I was like, I don't think so, but he's one of the reasons I'm here.
Yeah.
He's one of the reasons I'm anywhere. Is because I read reviews written by people like him. Yeah. And I got to understand who they were and why they did what they did. Yeah. And it resonated.
And it's the reason that, podcasts are so important because they build personality, but they also build knowledge bases of, well, I understand that Greg likes the same kind of games I do, or Greg never likes what I do, but I know Brian likes what I do.
Right.
So when you find out that you like or dislike a game from that person, it means so what. Just recently, you guys started doing a couple pieces. I thought saw for Rise of the Skywalker, right?
Yeah.
Here's what IGN staff thinks, and you had a whole bunch of different reviews. And one of the games I thought you did it and had scores.
Fallen Order, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, oh man, what a brilliant idea.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough thing to do because it's hard to do it for everything.
Sure.
And then sometimes like where it gets really difficult is like something like Death Stranding, where it's like if our reviewer gives it a 6.8 and then 4 other people give it a 9, then the audience goes, well, why didn't you just publish those 9s?
Sure.
Because people gravitate towards the score that most settles with what
I
they want it to
I
be.
want to be right.
Yes.
I see the Metacritic's not with me. What? Oh, but this one review
But
is.
this one is. Yeah. It happens a lot with you kind of move the goalposts around. We're all guilty of it. But yeah, that's something we try to do. It's tough because it's like you guys have a small enough staff where people can sort of understand and compartmentalize what does Greg like.
Yeah.
IGN is so massive that you look at it and you go, oh, I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
I don't know what they like. I don't
follow Janet Garcia on Twitter, so I don't know anything about what she thinks.
And so it gets very difficult for people to connect with things on an individual basis. And so I completely understand that side of it.
Yeah. Speaking of all this, Sean Dickler writes in to patreon.com/kindafunny and says, Brian, has becoming a father changed the way you perceive games and media? 5 months ago, I became a father as well, and I find that I am much more sensitive to what happens to children in the media I consume. Death Stranding is my best example. I don't think I could listen to the bridge baby cry, but also just seeing it in the tank makes me sad. It has, in part, kept me away from the game. I was prepared for the lack of time to change my priorities, but I wasn't prepared for the emotional shift.
Interesting. That's a great example right there because I think that one specifically, I had just gotten over the part with my kid where she would just cry uncontrollably for no reason.
Yeah.
Now there's sort of like I can kind of understand why it's happening when she doesn't just cry randomly anymore. Like I'm like, you're hungry or you're tired or you want to go outside or this and this. You're uncomfortable. when they're very young, you don't really know.
Yeah.
And so when I played Death Stranding, I was just like furiously shaking my controller, being like, stop. I think that's definitely a really good example. It's also, I had just gotten over that part with my kid, and so doing it again in a video game was just like tedious.
Sure.
It also felt completely unrealistic based on the lineage I had just had with that exact same scenario. And so I was like, this isn't real. It feels like wrong, and thus it's stupid.
It's like a math equation on a whiteboard.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't think I went like Days Gone came out this year, and like you murdered child zombies.
Little freaker babies.
Little freaker babies. That I didn't.
Tweakers?
Yeah,
Freakers.
Yeah, freakers. That tweakers are like methods.
Yeah, methods.
Yeah, which they could be. You never know. I didn't have a problem with that for some odd reason. I didn't want to become one of those parents that just suddenly starts policing the world.
Sure.
And going like, I'm sensitive to this, so now you must be too. What it did make me do is sort of appreciate pause buttons, games that have them.
Yeah.
A lot of games don't have them. Not necessarily, I don't champion shorter games because I think that like video games are interesting because there's a value perspective for a lot of people, and a lot of people conflate longer with better. It's one of the only mediums they do that. People don't ever go, like Avengers Endgame is a better value than other movies because it's longer.
Yeah,
or like this big book is better than short books. They don't ever do that. But with video games, they do. But as a dad, obviously your time becomes more limited. And so you start appreciating shorter stories and shorter games a little bit more. That's been a big change. But then also sometimes you want to just fuck around and do nonsense in video games. When my kid was born, the first month or two, you're just terrible at everything, and you don't know what you're doing, and you're hoping for the best, and you're like, I think that's how you do this, but I have no idea. And I went back and I replayed Resident Evil 4 from start to finish because I'm like, I'm fucking awesome at this game, and I know exactly what to do, and I know how to get to the credits, and I know how to kick ass through everything and kill every boss easily without dying. And so I had to play something that I knew I was great at, that I wouldn't fuck up, because I had no other instances of that in my life.
You needed a pat on the back somewhere.
I needed something to be like, congratulations, you beat the game on professional mode. Now do it again.
Still got it.
Yeah, still got it. So yeah, I think that's a big part of it.
Final question. Comes from Nikesh Patel. Huge shout out to the comedy button. This is an extremely broad question, but what advice would you give to someone on bringing out their creativity? Whether they are in a rut, uninspired, or never really embrace their creative side. If it's too broad, then when do you expect another Link's Awakening remake to be made?
Oh, man. I think what I try to do is sort of diversify my mediums. And so that means if I've hit a wall with writing, I'll go make music.
Yeah.
And if I've hit a wall with music, I'll draw terribly, even though I went to art school. It's just you get rusty with stuff like that. Or I'll do a podcast that's unscripted and funny or something like that. Like I try to make it so I'm not boxed into one place.
Sure.
I think a lot of people kind of like, they think of creative output as a thing that only exists in one form that they're used to. Cooking has been a thing for me that's like one of the most creative and satisfying, gratifying things I can do.
Yeah.
That also, if you fuck up, you only disappoint a small group of people for a small amount of time. And then if you're married to that person, you can bounce back the next day.
Yeah.
If you get a bunch of people sick off a cheap crab, you're fucked.
Listen,
right?
just because Joe's crab is cheap doesn't mean it's not good.
So that's like been a big thing for me. Like if you're writing or you're making music or you're drawing and it just sucks, like find a recipe and follow it and tweak it a little bit and add a little bit of stuff to it.
Yeah.
Do a stir fry or something where there's a little bit more, art than something like baking, which is pure science and math.
That's why I don't bake.
Yeah, me neither. Because it's just too many variables. I'm like, oh, quarter of it, sure. Oops.
Yeah,
and
no,
I'm
it's terrible. It's ruined.
And it fucks up. When you cook over like a frying pan or something, you get to dance around the kitchen a little bit more. Do a hand of this and then toss of that, pinch of this. I found that tremendously satisfying. It also gets you away from screens for a while. Yeah. There's no comment section unless you work at a restaurant.
Yeah.
Try that. And then if that doesn't work, just bounce between different forms and mediums, or just fucking don't. Just take a break. Just relax. Like
Yeah.
you shouldn't have a gun to your head to be creative every single day. Like sometimes you need downtime. Sometimes you need to relax. Go watch a bunch of movies, listen to a bunch of music you've never listened to before. Like look for shit outside of your usual comfort zone. You know, find a new restaurant, find a new podcast, find a new a channel or a show or a movie you've never seen before, and get yourself out of that rut, that box. Because otherwise you just get stuck.
Well said, Brian Altano.
Thanks, man.
Anything you want to add to close out the decade?
Man, that's
I know, no pressure.
No, just thank you. Thank you for being there. If you're listening to Greg, if you're listening to me, like thanks for letting us do what we do. It's a huge honor. It's really fun and it's really satisfying and it's frustrating at times too, but it's like it's a genuine fucking blast and we do this because of you guys and girls and everyone else. And so thank you so much for being there. Yeah, if you like what I do, I'm on Up at Noon. I host a show called Fast Travel, which we just sold a couple more episodes.
Nice.
So I'll be back on a plane again soon.
Yay!
And listen to Comedy Button. That show's been going on almost 10 years now.
That's crazy.
Which is fucking nuts. And then I have a couple albums out, Misanthrope, which is on iTunes and Spotify, and Revangelion, which is on all the same places. So, and I'll put out more music soon too. Greg,
Brian,
I fucking miss you, man.
I miss you too. Let's not wait 5 years to do another podcast officially.
I agree. I have this picture of us on your last episode of Up at Noon.
Yeah.
We're both wearing suits that fit us for the first time in that show's history.
Wow, look at that.
And we're giving each other a big hug.
Yeah.
I think we should do it again.
All right.
Love you, man.
That's We Have Cool Friends. It'll be back again. Like Snowman, I don't know. It'll roll through. Cheap crab jokes abound. If you like it, head over to patreon.com/kindafunny. You can be a part of the next episode. Find out who's going to be on. Support us. Find out all about Kinda Funny 2020. The new studio, the new employee, the new shows.
Give these guys money. Seriously.
Please.
Just like a couple bucks.
And then go do the same thing for Comedy Button.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Give it a shot.
Until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.